All right, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. يعطيكم العافية. By show of hands, who is only a student and who is an actual employee? So if you're an employee, just raise your hands. All of you? Okay, cool. So can I just get a feel of what departments do you work in? So, like you?
I work in career development, part of HR.
So HR.
Yeah, part of it. And I also work in accounting sector, so I'm shifting in there.
So you're having a career shift? Cool. Yeah?
Strategic business partner, and previously I worked in the learning and development department. It's all within HR.
Okay. Is that a consultancy? Consultant company? It's one of the big fours. Sounds like a partner, kind
Yes.
of. Ladies in the back?
Yeah, I work in an admission department in a private college.
Okay.
I consider it a sales department.
Okay.
Project management in Kuwait University.
PM.
Only the website, computer, and private IT.
Okay, IT. Teacher. Ahmed.
Site
Engineer.
Finance department.
Finance. The money people. Accounting.
Management.
PM. GM. General management. You? GM also? Founder. You? Accountant, okay, all right. Amazing. Welcome, or I welcome myself being here. It's a pleasure to be part of this class. So I can see that the vibe of the conversation is always about practical business, not just theoretical business, because I can see the ladies, they showcased a real case of someone talking about companies or whatnot. And that's how I like to do business. I study business from a theoretical perspective. It's important to know the theory, but it's also probably even more important to know the practicality of business. So I'm really honored to be part of your team, maybe momentarily be part of your team. And thank you, Doc, for hosting me today, and Ahmed also for the opportunity. So today's presentation, I'm just going to quickly present who I am, talk about a Kuwaiti startup, which is GMT24, one of which the founders is in the back, Mr. Abdullah, and take away points on innovation, how I perceive and approach innovation myself. And actually, this is a good reminder. Let me, can you, Ahmed, you have your phone? Just put me 30 minutes, please, because I don't like to exceed my presentations more than, 30 minutes is probably too long. But I'll try to pull it off before 30 minutes, even earlier, that would be better. So we'll have a Q&A session as well. I like to leave more room for questions because I think the conversation is more important than the presentation. Okay. A disclaimer. So I know the language of the presentation is English, but I'll follow it up with Arabic just to clarify and bridge communication. I know everybody's English is very good. The Arabic that I will use is slightly Kuwaiti-ish. I'm not Kuwaiti, but I did try to learn the accent. So that's why if I speak Kuwaiti and I throw in بدليات بالنص لا أحد يتصيدني لأن إذا حاولت تفرمني راح أفرمك يعني فدير بالكم. إنزين? All right. Okay. So my name is Adam Aish, or also Adam Alive. It literally translates to Adam Alive. I founded Rocket Adverts in 2020. It's a marketing/advertising agency. Ever since I founded it, we managed to work on almost around 450 plus projects in Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain, alhamdulillah. And managed to work with brands like Kia, Kareem, QMB, Dukhan Bank, Commercial Bank in Qatar, Sultan Center, and a few others, to name a few. And also, so I don't like to call myself a strategist or a consultant, but I work on go-to-market strategy. So go-to-market strategy is basically how you go into the market, how you tackle the market if you have a product or a service. I work on go-to-market strategies for small and medium-sized businesses, one of which is GMT24, which is a project we're going to talk about today. Other brands, these are local companies like Curves, Minosense, Awqati, to name a few. These companies operate in the luxury, retail, dietary supplements, and software. So with these companies, I work on go-to-market strategy, marketing strategy, business model canvas, business planning. So the business model canvas, pretty much, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's just a tool that we use with especially small to medium-sized companies in terms of how do we put the overall strategy of the company. Oh, that's a touchscreen.
Yes,
Interesting.
select.
Oh, really? Woo! Nice. Okay. Technology. All right. So I normally work with businesses that have reached a product market fit. Do you know what a product market fit? Can you tell me?
Market positioning of the product, where we can position our product in specific market.
Any answers? Do you know what product market fit means? Product market fit? Yeah? Yeah. All right. So try to think logically. Let me get to theory, huh? Let me be a dog for the day. So try to think of product market fit. Just try to think of that logically.
It fits the target, the demand.
Close.
It fits the demand.
Yeah, so join the two.
Demand is supply.
You fitting the demand. Basically, you have a product that fits the demand. It's an actual term, so PMF or product market fit. So the reason why I don't work with companies from scratch, if you have an idea, I don't work with you. I tell you, go sell it in the market and we can work together. You know, if you actually get sales, so it means there's demand for the product or the service, then we can work together. And then how I come into the picture is I put some structure in your strategy. All right. So the project of the day is GMT24. So GMT24 is a marketplace. This is a project that I worked with the gentleman in the back, Mr. Abdullah Al-Jassar. He and his partner founded a luxury marketplace. So do you know about watches? So what brands do you know about watches? Like? Omega, Rolex. So the GMT24 is a marketplace. Do you know what other businesses operate like marketplaces? Can you name a few? Okay, without. Okay. So Talabat is a marketplace, right? Talabat is an application that does not own the restaurants, but it works as a middleman between the customer and the restaurant owner. eBay, Amazon, the likes. So they sell pre-owned luxury timepieces. So if you have a Rolex, you have an Omega, you have a Patek Philippe, and the like. And the product is not the watch. So the product of the company is not the watch. The product of the company is what? No. You have a hint in the presentation. So the product of the company is the application. The company has an application on Android and iOS where if you want to sell your watch, you can just take a picture of your watch, put it on the application. If there's a buyer for it, he can just buy the watch. Okay? So the product is, or the app is found on iOS, Android, and web app. So you can just go on to gmt24.com and you can just upload your watch if you want to sell it or if you want to buy a watch. Okay?
It's like a bidding place. You can call it.
Well, kind of. You can bid. I'll come to that. Very good observation. So there is kind of bidding on the application, but there's a feature within the app. I'll just explain later on. And there's also bidding. There's an auction feature which was not released yet. Okay. So business traction in terms of numbers. So total GMV is short for gross merchandise value is just another word for total sales. So in 2020, the company had reached 2.4 million in terms of total sales, 2021, 2.9 million, and 2022, 4.5 million. So in total, around maybe 10 million or 11 million. The app has been downloaded for more than 45,000 times on iOS and Android, and almost 200 plus watches uploaded on a monthly basis. The app downloads had happened not only in Kuwait, so people download the app from Kuwait, Qatar, KSA, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and also Finland. So we happened to get a customer back in the day, a customer from Finland who is interested in luxury watches. He saw that the Kuwaiti market has good prices for the watches. So he just go on the app, buy the watch, and sells it in Finland for a good margin. Yeah.
There is a guarantee on the watch. But if I bought it from an anonymous person, what's my guarantees?
Okay, so I'll leave the answers to the questions after the presentation, but to remind me, ذكرني بالسؤال عشان أجاوبك عليه. Okay? And so the value proposition in terms of what does the application offer into this market, there's a lot of points. I will not go through them all, but the main point is the app organized the market. So the market is very disorganized. يعني مثلا, if you want to buy a watch, you can go to الوكيل direct, okay? Like مثلا السرحان أو Ali bin Ali or any of the وكلاء اللي موجودين بالكويت. Or you can go to the secondary market, which is التجار. مثلا سوق الأوقاف, أي مكان ثاني بالساعات. But the online, the market is not really organized. You know, if التجار يبون مثلا to market online on Instagram, they can just upload pictures of the watch. If you're interested in a watch, you can just go on WhatsApp, ask about the watch, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But you know, if he wants to tell you about the product description, then he'll have to call you, send you a WhatsApp message, and so on and so forth. But on the app, everything is organized. So you can see product description, you can see pictures, you can see a guarantee, you know, as the gentleman asked. So you find all the information about the watch on the application, okay? You can sell 24/7, so there's no limit. You can see the watches whenever you want. You can place an order whenever you want, so on and so forth. There's a protection plan. So your name? What's your name? Mohammed. So Mohammed asked if there's some sort of guarantee. So there's protection plan. So just in case if, you know, there's something, although the company checks the watches, but if there's something wrong with the watch, you know, you can return it back to the seller. Tell them you have 24 hours. You can just check the watch. If all is well, okay, خلاص, that's it. Thank you very much. But look, I mean, in this market, if you buy a pre-owned watch, you already know that, you know, it's polished, there's some scratches. فيعني في نوع من إدارة توقعات. زين يعني أنا مو شاري الساعة من الوكالة، أنا شاري ساعة من أحد، فأكيد هو مستعملها وفي عليها زلغة whatever. زين so فيني يعني هو already عنده هذا التوقع إنه لا الساعة إذا كان حالتها زينة فنور على نور. إذا كان فيها شيء خلينا نقول ميجر، في طقة وايد زين شايدة وما أقدر أخذ الساعة، ممكن تردها. Is it 24 hours? أنا نسيت. It's been a while since so I've worked with the company for 3 years, but I forgot the
conditions for there is the new and the used also. They said also new.
Yeah. No, there's new. بس طبعا أي شيء شوف أي شيء طلع من الوكالة في هذا السوق it's new, but then خلاص طلعت من الوكالة. But it's new. So when you put the description of the watch, you can put either new, used, mint, whatever, depending on the حالة الساعة.
Yeah, I have a question.
Tell me.
I see that as an advantage for your company. This is one of the main value proposition, I believe.
In what sense?
Yeah, for the guarantee.
Yeah.
Because why? Because I think there's no valuable money is risky. There is no complete trust. No one has a complete trust on someone that will value your farm to have the thing as we expected. We may have some problems with that. Now, my question is, what is your role in the guarantee dynamism process?
Okay, that's a good question. So there is a rule. There are rules of course, you don't upload something that's not with you. I mean, if you don't say that your watch is new and it's like in mint condition or used. So you try to match the actual situation of the watch with a description. So in other sense, or in other words, don't lie. Don't lie. Okay? Try to be honest about the situation of the watch, or the condition of the watch. If it's okay, say it's okay. If it's scratched, say it's scratched, so on. And then usually you can take pictures also. You upload the...
I'm going to ask this question. How can you view your product?
Okay, so I'll answer these questions.
Like by a 3D option, or I mean like the green, you know?
Okay,
Turn around and look at the product.
very good question. So far on the app, I'll talk about two things. I'll talk about, so when it comes to innovation, which is the subject of the class, is what I call innovation in execution, all right? Because the business model itself is innovative. So like when they thought of marketplaces, I mean, who thought that I'm gonna sell you something I don't own in my inventory, okay? So that in and of itself is innovative. However, it's not easy, although, I mean, it's only an application. So for example, any one of you would say, well, okay, أنا أقدر أسوي application وأنزل السوق وأبيع. But it's not that easy, you know? This business model is very hard because you're going to the supply side and you're going to the demand side and you try to convince both sides, hey, come on board so we can buy and sell. It's not easy. So marketplaces are hard to copy, you know, for many reasons, because of the chicken or egg, what I call the chicken or egg conundrum, you know, which comes first? Yeah, هل تروح حق راعي الساعة وتقول له إنزين أنا عندي ابلكيشن حطه عندي، يقول لك إنزين أنت منو يعرف عنك؟ منو يدري عنك؟ يقول له والله أنت حطه عندي بعدين خلينا نشوف الوضع. ولا تروح حق الكاستمر تقول له ترى إحنا عندنا شيء بس أنت ما عندك ساعات. And this is also another discussion. But anyways, it's a two-sided customer base. I'm trying to convince the supply and I'm trying to convince the demand. All right? So you own the watch, you are my customer. You want to buy the watch, you're also my customer. So it's a very hard business model and very hard to replicate, in my opinion. I forget that this is a touch. Okay, where am I? Okay, but however, it's not rocket science. Yani, I know, yeah. That's a buzzword, eh? A lot of people like, let's start a drop shipping business. But look, I think drop shipping, there's a buzzword around drop shipping. I think it's slightly a scheme, all right? It's not really, yani, muslaj. But drop shipping is true in the sense that they don't own the inventory. You're right, okay? But I'd like to call it a marketplace in terms of a business model. But in the sense, it's close operationally, it's close to drop shipping. Yeah? So imitation is the ultimate form of innovation. So, you know, the idea is, how much time do I have? 13 minutes, okay. So the business model is already there. If you go on eBay, you can buy a Rolex. If you go on Chrono24, you can buy a Rolex. So Chrono24 is in Germany, in Europe, and eBay is in the United States. But you can still buy Rolexes. So answering your question, the business model has been there for quite a while. If it's something really innovative, and I will talk about that later on in another slide. I remember I studied the jewelry business in like 10 years in Kuwait, and There were a few businesses that tried to sell jewelry online. They didn't succeed. It was too early.
Because you need to see the clarity, the cut, the shape.
But now it's not. Now it's not. Okay, maybe.
If I buy any kind of jewelry online, I need to look at it clearly to check the clarity with the light, with the cut, the shape. I had a class. I did a website selling jewelry in class course. It was really hard. You can't see your product clearly.
Yeah, but the behavior, absolutely right. I agree. What's your good name?
That's why it's paid.
What's your good name?
Sorry?
Your good name? Latifa. Latifa is absolutely right. I agree. However, the behavior is mature, is much more mature now than it used to be before. Back in the day, it was almost impossible, but people, they trust you. Like for example, if you're Damas, I like Damas, let's just thinking it off the top of my head. If you're a Damas or Damas, and you're selling something online, you will not think twice about if you like a piece from them, right? Because you trust Damas. All right, maybe you don't like. Okay, your issue.
I have a solution.
No, your issue. I'll tell you what your issue is. If it doesn't look nice, now that's something different.
Even no, my issue is the clarity and the cut, the shape.
Okay, what do you mean by clarity?
Because there's a BS, H color, G color. The ranges is really So I think if you have a store already selling jewelry, going somewhere else, but like you can see the product, view it in real life, and maybe purchasing it online.
Okay, so Latifa touched upon a very important point, which is it's something we studied as well, because with females, it's slightly harder for them to complete the purchase as opposed to men. So for the watch, you know, if a man like already knows about the watch and he saw it on the app, it's a different story. Do you know what I mean? Because when you sell a Rolex, a Batman is a Batman, a GMT is a GMT, a Pepsi is a Pepsi. So these are like the model names. So they already know about the piece. You're just looking for a good price or a good bargain, if you know what I mean. However, the behavior is much more mature now than it used to be. You know, maybe it depends on the ticket size or the value size of the product. So if it's too expensive, maybe you would think twice. If it's within an okay range, you probably think about it. If it's normal accessories that you wear on a daily basis, you're probably going to just quickly purchase it. You know, so it depends on a lot of variables. But in our case, in watches a lot more straightforward than jewelry. So especially for men that are buying the male models or the men models. So they know what they want, or they're looking for a new purchase. They just go on the app and complete the purchase. The last thing is, and this is where I call the real innovation happens. So in my opinion, the innovation can be in the business model. So your product is like صاروخي ماكو مثله بالmarket. But in my opinion, the innovation really lies in the execution in the market. Yeah? The execution, by that I mean the marketing. How you market your product or your service so that people trust you and they start buying and selling. And that's, as I put it here in between brackets, where the real innovation happens. Okay, so let me dig into more specifics in terms of how innovative it is. So you mentioned, who mentioned the auction? You did? All right. So there's a feature on the app called the price suggest app feature. So the price suggest feature is basically put simply, if you have a watch, you know, let's say I want to sell Latifa my watch, and Latifa wants a counter offer. She doesn't like the price. You know, my watch is 6,500 and she offers 6,350. Maybe I'll think about it and I'll accept. So the price suggest feature is a way between the buyer and the seller to شلون نقولها بالكويتي negotiate. إذا يبي يفاصل إنزين هو مو عاجبه السعر. Okay, فيبي yeah. Yeah.
You see this one? That's innovation, right?
Yeah, so
I suggest, why not?
So yeah لأن الكل يحب يفاصل. الحريم أكثر ناس يحبون يفاصلون خصوصا بالجولري والذهب نو؟ ولا لا؟
eBay is the auction market.
Yeah.
So it goes up, it goes, and everybody has.
So the auction is something different. So when we talk about, and also the auction is something in the pipeline discussed to be, on the app. The auction goes from the bottom up. The price suggest goes from the top to bottom. Because the seller puts the maximum price he wants for his timepiece, but then me as a negotiator just puts a counter offer. So I put my watch at 6,500. Maybe they want to buy it for 6,350. They give me a counter offer. Okay, fine, I agree. So, but this leaves there are some issues with this the price suggest feature. So, for example, the counter offer has to happen between set boundaries. So this includes the boundaries. I mean, يعني في شلون نقولها بالعربي؟ في conditions في شروط تمام؟ في شروط حق الكاونتر اوفر. الشرط الاول ان في lower limit. يعني مثلا انا ابيع الساعه ما يقدر ينزل عن 6000 مثلا for example. If he goes below 6000 then it gets auto rejected. وحتى أنا كبايع ما يوصلني الكاونتر اوفر for example. Okay? So there's an auto rejection feature. ليش؟ لأنه ما بيعور راسي خلاص. يعني وليش يعور راسي إذا هو ما عنده الفلوس؟ ليش يحط مثلا 6000 وأنا حاط المينيمم 600 for example. So there's a limited number of counter offers. So if I own the watch, he can only send me 3 times and that's it. That's it. So تقدرين مثلا تبين تفاوضيني 3 مرات that's it. أو تدزين لي 3 عروض خلينا نقول. And كنا proposal يعني كنا أنت داز لي proposal تدز لي maximum 3 proposals. More than that you cannot send me. I think 24 hours كنا 24 أو 48 yes.
Is it something public or just closed communication?
It's only between the buyer and the seller. Yeah. Only between the buyer and the seller. And then some things that have been put in the pipeline. So these are things that are, yep. It's a commission-based business model. So تبيع أنا أخذ النسبة مالتي based on a certain percentage. Yeah. So here, this part, which is, how much time do I have? People are yawning and some people are like on the phone and yeah, no worries. So I'll try to, that's why I don't want to lose people, More than 20 minutes is really, I'm getting to the red line when I go beyond 20 minutes. So 5 minutes? It's 25 minutes already? Wow, okay, let me do this quick. Okay, so innovation in UX, UI. Everybody knows UX, UI? Salam alaikum. User interface. Do you know the difference between the two?
This is what we use for IT.
Okay, long story short. Okay, so long story short, UX is not tangible, it's feelings, how you feel when you use the application. And UI is all the design. That's the difference between the two. So UX is anything that has to do with feelings. For example, talabat, how easy it is. Rate it from like 10. This is how you feel about how easy to use. So that's UX. So some of the features in the pipeline is data and analytics. So market watch value to provide price anchor. So the price anchor is very important when you sell a watch because not a lot of people are experts. Some are experts, they know the value of the watch in the market. Some other are not. So if you're not that expert, there's a value timeline where you see the value of the watch across a timeline. So it makes it easier for you to what? To set a price, yeah. So, and this is also very important لأن وايد يشكون من جزئية إنه والله أنا ساعتي ما انباعت. إنزين أنت حطيت سعر مناسب للسوق. إذا هو مثلا ما يدري أو ما سوى ريسيرش يقدر يشوف هذا الفاليو تايم لاين. ويحط السعر. إنزين. Use of augmented reality is something that really then again, managing expectations. إن تشوفين الساعة لليد قبل لا تشتري. So the augmented reality engines is not something new. It's been there for quite a while, but it depends on how you use it. So there's something also that have been discussed just to make it closer to the person. If you want to buy, how it's going to look on your hand. Yeah. And then tracking shipping. هذه الجزئية علشان نخفف من الحنة. زين؟ يعني تخيل أنت مثلا شاري ساعة 6500 وأحط فلوس الحين خلاص سويت البيمنت بالكينت عاد أنت مو تبيها اليوم أنت تبيها أمس. الناس ما عندها صبر هذه الأيام. كلها بالسبة الانستغرام الله يقطع الانستغرام.
صارت معكم دورات؟ like selling.
الحمد لله لا. لا. I'll answer these questions. بس هو السوق فيه بس في جي ام تي لا الحمد لله. الحين بجاوبكم بس خلينا نتكلم عن الحنة اللي تصير هني. So هذه هي نفس الفيتشر. It's the same feature in طلبات when you order, you know, and you see where the driver is. It's somewhat close, but usually because the watch doesn't go directly to the buyer. The watch goes to the company checks it, they do an audit on the watch.
It comes to you.
Yeah, it goes to GMT 24.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they have to double check. ما اسمع. لا عادة تجي بالبوكس.
بس أنا كلاينت اللي ببيع الساعة أنا المفروض أسكره.
ماكو أحد عنده بوكس رولكس ويهده. بوكس الرولكس حقه 100 دينار. فبروح عادة يجي مع البوكس والشغل ماله. إذا ما يجي بالبوكس ممكن ينزل بالسعر. Yeah. So most of the luxury watches come in their own packaging. Mostly the boxes. So no one gets rid of the box. The box alone costs around 80 to 100. بالضبط.
It's great, you know, I didn't feel that way. Then that goes to the,
No. So
there's another adventure that you have.
So the operation goes from the seller to the company checks, it matches the product description, it sees if there's anything wrong. Sometimes the seller might forget something زلغة بالساعة أو ضربة بالساعة فهني مثلا الشركة تقول حق الشاري it tells the buyer, look, we found this and that. Are you okay with it? He'd be like, well, let me check and see. All right? So you can see the whole thing happening from when the company takes it, goes to the company, and it goes to...
But then, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Why? I was asking the question about the guarantee. This is more than guarantee this.
Guarantee as in what? So in this market...
There's a used product.
Yeah, just to double check.
That's great.
You know, this look, it's a very sensitive, this market is very sensitive. You know, it's all about emotions. هذا حاط 6500 وهذا شاري رولكس فهذا بين وهذا راح ين عرفت؟ So this like almost...
Just the process much more when my product goes to the company itself to check it.
Yeah.
Before sending it to me.
And you have technicians for that as well?
Yeah. So these are experts that know about watches. They just check it. But there are some restrictions. I mean, for example, you cannot open a watch. In Rolex, you cannot, but there are some restrictions, but still the people that are handling it are experts. They know about watches. Yeah. So that's the business model. That's all there is about to GMT. There's a lot more. You know, I only have about maybe 2 minutes to finish this presentation. But the last part of the presentation is, I'll just tell you what my take on innovation is in real quick points. So I look at innovation like risk. You know, in investment, you know how risk goes, like in the curve. If you have low risk, you have low returns, and the opposite is true. If you have high risks, you have high returns. And so is the case with innovation. So if you innovate too little, there's no competitive advantage. But if you innovate too much, then people will not use your product because we are creatures of comfort and we don't like to get outside of our comfort zones. So if you become too innovative, you might even think maybe like drop shipping. It's something too innovative, and sometimes it might come across as being schemy or not, you know, it's not true. Because, or even risky, of course, because you don't own the inventory. So my solution to that is always innovate by 10 to 20% maximum, because this provides you enough competitive advantage, all right, in the market. And also, it's not too risky for people to adopt you or buy from you, You're
By the way, that's what Apple is doing right now.
Yeah? You think? You think?
It's slow innovation.
But it's working for them. When it comes to the iPhones and 7.
You mean Apple, or you mean my solution to innovation?
Talk about Apple as a big
Maybe
company. That's what
they're
they're doing.
using less than 10.
I don't know. Maybe. But I mean, are they the first phone manufacturer? I mean, was the iPhone the first touchscreen? It's not. It's not the first. I mean, there's been the communicator or the iMate. Remember the iMates? You remember the iMates? So iMate was a touch phone. So Apple was not the first one to create a touch phone, So, but they innovated with the App Store and the design and design of the App Store.
The percentage by 10, 20 yearly, then you need to jump high to
Maybe. Now you're thinking strategically. Now you're being strategic in terms of how you approach it. 100%. 100%. All right. Guys, I promise you I'll finish in 3 minutes. Don't worry. All right? So that I don't lose you. Okay? The second thing is when you think about is, are you product innovation centered or are you human centered? Do you know what I mean? Can you tell me? Can you?
This is what we are doing, design thinking.
Design
This is classes for 5
Sorry?
hours.
Instead of like
100%. So everybody, I'm not an expert in design thinking. I've read about design thinking, but we all know the 5 steps. All right. But if I were to focus on something, to focus more on something, I'll probably focus on empathizing first. Yeah, because it all starts with the people. It doesn't start with the product. If you understand what people are facing in terms of problems, then you can create solutions for them. So the solution to that is always be human-centered, or at least leans more towards the human side. And that's why I'm interested in marketing and psychology. I'm not a product guy. I'm not a tech guy. I work in tech companies, but I understand people, or try. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm interested in, because it all starts with understanding behaviors.
My approach how GMT 24 is using that design thinking, how process and stuff. Are you using it?
That was your question, but I was waiting.
All right, so this goes to my original slide. The GMT 24 was innovative in getting into this market. I mean, you can copy any business model from Europe or the States, but you make it relevant to Kuwait. You speak the tongue of Kuwaitis. You know what I mean? Just like pretty much what I'm trying to do now. It's like throwing in Kuwaiti with badiyat. But I'm trying to be closer to the culture so that they can understand me and understand them. So it's all in the marketing. The last thing when it comes to this point is innovation is a mix of art and science, in my opinion. If I were to think of it as a mix, it's probably 40-60. So I give 40 to science and 60 to art. And sometimes there are rules for innovation. It's like pretty much what you do with the class. So it's an ABC steps of you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just happens organically. Sometimes it's a flow state. Do you know what a flow state is? So when the mind is just coming up with ideas easily, you know what I mean? It's an organic thing, and you cannot really put numbers to that. You can follow the scientific way, but it's also an art. So it's a mix of both. Just like do you know this product? Everybody knows the product. So recently I got to know about the story of this product. So WD-40, I mean, it's يمكن نفرش فيه أسناننا بعد. So we use it for everything, all right? حلو حلو حلو. انزين. لا ممكن إيه. بس look, we use it for everything, but originally the product was created for as an insulation agent in the weapon industry. And then people found out that they use it for everything else. And did that happen by design? Did it happen by design? نايمين حدكم. So did it happen by design? So with the flow, exactly. And labor used it for daily fixes. And that's where the company found that there's a larger use for this. That's it for me. Thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed the... And now I can take questions. I make it more relevant so that...
What is the difference between your application, the GTM24 and Chrono 24 and Watchbox?
Watchbox is in the UAE, correct? I remember we studied Watchbox one time. We downloaded their application. So, okay, let's speak of Chrono 24. So Chrono 24 operates in Europe. Okay, so it's a Europe-based. It's a geographically, it's based in Europe, but we are focusing on the region. So in the in KSA and Kuwait and. They have what?
The stock which is available in the market.
I mean, it's a bigger country. It's a bigger company for sure if you compare the two. However, even tech startups are also bound by geography. For example, Talabat is an application, but does someone in the United States order from Talabat in Kuwait or even in the region? So the advantage for GMT24 is that you're focusing on this region because you understand the region. So marketing-wise, GMT24 has an advantage. Why? Because Chrono24 is a European company, but does not understand the marketing. It's a competitor. It's merely a competitor. At Watchbox, I think, from what I know, is their business model also relies on shops because they have shops. They don't just operate on only an app. Okay, so it's a competitor. The UAE market is a lot more dense, also because a lot of the watches come from the UAE. But GMT is closely coming up to be like a head-to-head competitor to Watchbox. But answering your question with regards to Chrono 24 is that it all lies in the marketing. You have advantage in the marketing because you understand the region better than Chrono 24. And if GMT 24 grows to be so big, then it starts attracting eyeballs. Just pretty much like what happened with Talabat. You know, it started growing until Rocket Internet saw an opportunity and they were like, I mean, Rocket Internet, for example, has the money to go into a market like Kuwait, but would it get into Kuwait? It's hard, because money alone is not enough. They have to get to understand the culture, how people think, and gain their trust.
I don't know if it's going to arrive tomorrow. Who's selling it?
Some application.
But from Kuwait, I feel like I have more jurisdiction.
Maybe, but
It's closer.
But I'll tell you what.
If you found this order for 9,000 KD, Kuwait, and 7,000, reliable.
I will take the flight, go there.
Maybe.
But you know about Watchbox. Okay, let me ask you this. So you know about Watchbox, but you don't trust them enough to purchase from them. Why is that? Or do you? Okay, so if you have trust in the brand, then you would complete the purchase. If you know they're trustworthy, عندهم سمعة بالسوق, يمكن في أحد تعرفينه شرى من الابلكيشن. So
the option that the product goes to the company itself is already يعني trustworthy. For me,
that's when if you if
حتى بالعكس طبيعي إذا شريتي شيء والبرودكت راح يوصل حق مال الكومباني or anything like GM.
24.
راح يروح هناك I'm sure that the product will arrive to me later on because it's their responsibility to deliver it to me.
And if you have all right, if you complete a purchase online, there's always a matter of trust. Like how much time did it take you to complete a purchase on maybe Shein or Temu or any of those applications? It probably took you a while, but when you start seeing people ordering, it becomes easy for you, all right? So there's a lot of factors that play into this, you know, but, and that's where the innovation happens. If you remember in one of the slides, I said that the innovation really lies in the marketing, because you make people trust you, how you speak to them, how you communicate with them, and how you tell them, look, we're trustworthy, we make sure that watches are okay, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So the payment is kind of an escrow-esque type of transaction. Do you know what an escrow-esque type of transaction?
Like put on hold and then when the purchase is done.
What's your good name? Noor, good job. So an escrow-esque kind of payment is the company holds the payment, you get the watch, everything's okay, they release it to...
It's amazing, right? Yeah.
But,
Are they doing the other competitors? Are they the same or not?
who, like...
The other ones in UAE and...
I don't know, maybe they are, yeah. Not sure if they do. Yeah.
I'm telling my watch, okay, so like, I don't know if you know First Dibs, okay, but like it's an American web app that sells like vintage items, like artwork that's like actually expensive.
All right.
So what they do is like, if I'm selling my artwork or like my watch or whatever, there's a limited time, so I can't be selling it somewhere else. يعني مثلا I'm putting my product with you guys.
Yeah.
Is there a limited time of like the same time I'm selling it somewhere else? يعني مثلا ما أقدر أعلن عنه on a different app for a limited time.
No, we don't hold exclusivity for that, but there's an sort of an auto reminder on the app that every 15 days you get reminded to keep it or archive it.
Okay.
And if we cannot also control them to tell them, look, you only sell it on GMT, but we tell them kindly, if you sell it, remove it. Yeah. So if they sell it elsewhere, because most chances are they put it on GMT, but they put it also elsewhere. Also, one last thing that I want to mention, I'll take more questions and.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I have a new feature to add.
Yeah. So the founder is there.
That's innovation.
Regarding the billing part, you can put like add a feature like an alert. Let's say every Monday there's an auction, so people, collectors would get into that kind of room, and there's a seller selling their kind of part of product, which kind of watch, I don't know, and they can bid for it instead of like private
Brilliant.
Auction.
It's a brilliant feature, yeah. It actually had been discussed to have like sort of an auction feature within the app. It's sort of like social selling. Do you know what social selling is? You guys are familiar with now, like people selling on TikTok, and there's another app called Will, I think in the States or something. But auction, it's just an auction.
It will be word of mouth.
100%.
Did you hear of that kind of auction?
100%. And I think the competitive advantage, because now you probably see there's a lot of auctions online. So a lot of people have auctions on Instagram and stuff like that, and even on TikTok. But the thing is, it's not well organized on TikTok and Instagram because...
Instagram, they complete the payment, I saw that.
Not in Kuwait. Not in Kuwait. It's not yet available, I think, as a feature. You go to their WhatsApp and then you send them a Knet link and so on. Maybe in the States, like the Instagram shop. Yeah? Okay, so, but then again, you know, you can have the ecosystem a little bit more organized if you have your own app, because they can see description, they can submit their bids, they can complete the payment on the app instead of just going to a third-party application, so on and so forth. So, yeah.
So, I have a question.
Any questions?
Do you fall under any CPK regulations, or is there any supervision?
I don't think there's any. I'm not sure if there's any problems with CBK regulations, because there's no wallet on the app as far as I know. If only you have a wallet on the app, then you might have CBK regulations, because wallets are under central bank. You have to have KYC and all of that. But the company does not have a wallet. It just holds it momentarily until the buyer just gets the watch, and then releases the payment. So far, no issues. I think you would have issues if, as I said, because I worked once with an e-commerce company. If you have a wallet in your app, then you'd be subject to CBK regulations in terms of you have to have KYC, you have to have, there's a lot of things you have to have in place. Yeah. Any other?
May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Are you considering to diversify the products that you're selling or people can sell through your app?
So, yeah, sure. So people can upload any luxurious item within the watch industry for now, because the company from a branding perspective is only focusing on the watch part. So if you have, there's a lot of accessories for watches, like maybe straps or, So any accessory, any watch related accessories they can sell. Well, it all depends on the sellers, because as I said, it's a marketplace. So GMT24 does not own the inventory. So if you think you have a product that's related to watches they want to sell, and it's within the luxury space, you can just upload it to the app. No competition in Kuwait so far. There's no there's not an application that I know of. I mean, there's another app that tried to create an application, but they are in e-commerce. They sell their own products, but they're not a marketplace. They tried to be a marketplace, they couldn't, because also they're focusing on a lot of things. Probably you guys know about the. Somehow, yeah, sure. Because also, I mean, their items and their products are kind of luxurious, but they try to have another app or another section of the app that's a marketplace where you list, but it's listings more than, it's just like إعلانات مبوبة على قولتهم. So it's listings, you just pay, it's like مثلا for sale. So it's listings, it's just ads. You put ad, but there's nothing, I have nothing to do with it. You directly get in touch with the seller. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Amazing presentation.
Thank you very much.
So we heard about the GMT24 first time for me. To be honest.
So you will buy immediately.
I'm not a watches guy, but very interesting, really very interesting, and thank you so much for that.
Mr. Abdullah Jassar is one of the founders, and he just you know, and I think also, in my opinion, as I mentioned, if there's a takeaway message for me, if you want to benefit from what I provided today, is that you don't have to be if you want to start a business. It doesn't have to be 100% innovative. You just try to be 10 to 20%. That creates enough competitive advantage so that, you know, you're not competing in a red ocean with everybody else. Do you know the red ocean, blue ocean? Yeah. So you're not in red ocean with everybody else. You're finding your own blue ocean. And I think copying, I like copying. I think smartest people copy. All the great companies just copied, I think, in my opinion.
But in a different ways.
I make it better, yeah. But if you copy, and there's لا أساس يعني هم أنت ما تنسخ 100%، بس لا قواعد معينة ممكن على قولتهم you can follow so that you create a good business model. But
so copying and innovating at the same time.
Yeah.
Copy and don't do the same mistakes. Don't copy the mistakes. Copy and avoid the mistakes.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you guys again. Thank you.